if you make a new one in today's modern technology and make it great, like a game that probably outsells right now what we have with Street Fighter 6 and or Tekken 8, Marvel 4 would probably do the same thing. So
Oh yeah, I agree.
Capcom is been hitting, they've been striking hot. That iron has been hot for them. They got a new Onimusha game coming out next year. They got a Devil May Cry anime, which is probably likely they're going to be a new DMC at some point. Just because they released an Onimusha anime last year, I believe, didn't do too well. But also along the releases of the Warlords remaster and remaster, then they releasing Onimusha 2. So I think that there's definitely a fighting game coming from Capcom. If I was a betting man, I would say that it'd probably be CvS3 first, just because, like Rexon mentioned, they legit have basically kind of done it kind of like in a way with putting KOF characters into Street Fighter 6, being Mai and Terry, and then having Ken and Chun-Li that are going to be having guest appearances in City of the Wolves. So at this point, I feel like they are just saying, hey, we're about to do this, because I feel like it's just testing, like, okay, which systems do we want to put these characters in, and which systems do we want to use? Do we want to go more of a Street Fighter 6 route? I mean, if it's CVS2, the game was pretty kind of a solid mix of both. So they'll just see what mechanics do we want to keep. I think it's almost a sure bet that they're going to do CVS3. They're probably going to take a few mechanics from Street Fighter 6, a few mechanics from City of the Wolves, which the games actually have pretty similar mechanics in some regards. They both games have like a drive impact equivalent of each other. Both games have like a parry option. So yeah, I think in the drive meter, which is basically just the same, the rev meter, which is the same thing as the your overdrive gauge and the drive gauge in Street Fighter 6. So I think it's going to be CVS3. Now Marvel 4 could be a possibility. Really haven't seen as much evidence to support that. I mean, we do have the collections, that's always something. I think that Marvel collection did pretty well. I definitely enjoyed it. And I know a lot of other people enjoyed it as well. And just being able to have Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on a platform again, because before that it was so hard to find. If you didn't have it on PS3 already on Dreamcast or something like that, you basically just couldn't really get the game. So being able to play those games again on a full collection was dope. So that could lend toward them making a MVC4. I'd definitely be down for it. Maybe even Max's Infinite Beyond, him just redoing the game. Maybe that kind of spurs Capcom to be like, hey, you know what? Let's give y'all a dope Marvel versus game. We kind of screwed up on the last one, but let's give y'all a good one. So, but I'm thinking right now, CVS3 has got to be the next one up. That's what I think.
Let me stretch quick, Devin, and my bad. I just had something on his screen was bothering me, but you got it.
It's all good, man. So yeah, I definitely agree with Mr. Gaming Lift. I think Capcom versus SNK 3 is probably going to be the next game, and I mean that's partially because of some of the evidence we've seen, but partially because of like wishful thinking. I mean, it's been a hot minute since we've seen like a game like Capcom versus SNK. Like, how long has it been since like the last Capcom versus SNK 2 game came out? Like, it's been quite a while, hasn't it? Kind of been like the early 2000s.
Yeah,
it's been like 20 years at this point, I think.
Yeah, bro. Like, I mean, and then when was the last Marvel game? I mean,
Infinite
2015, 2016.
Yeah, so I mean, we're long overdue for a new Capcom versus SNK game, but it seems like I don't know that they've been been trying to like lay the groundwork for like for a few years. I thought that they were going to try to attempt to do something like that after King of Fighters, like I think was it a 14 and like Street Fighter 5, and it just never happened. I was really hoping for that, and nothing really ever came of it. But like Mr. Game and Lift was saying, like now like they're having all this crossover between Street Fighter 6 and City of the Wolves. So now it's looking more and more imminent that we're going to have like a Capcom versus SNK sequel. And then in addition to that, like he's saying, like there's like a lot of like the crossover, some of the crossover between like, the systems in both games. They even like have a similar kind of name for like their like, oh, you can't do anything kind of mode. There's overheat and Burnout, right?
Burnout,
So
yeah.
like they're even kind of similar in that regard. So that's cool. Like we're kind of meshing them together even on that kind of like subtle level, I think. So I think like yeah, definitely Capcom versus SNK3 would come out before the next Marvel game. And I mean, either way, you're going to be happy, right? Whether or not one comes out before the other, but it would be really cool, in my opinion, for us to have like another Capcom versus SNK game because, yeah, like I said, it's been so long, man, since we've had one. I mean, it'd be really messed up to skip over that again to have another Marvel game. It's just like then people are going to start asking, do you guys even care about that anymore at all? So yeah, that's my take.
For me, I believe, well, one, we know that Capcom, their history is them having more than one fighting game out at a time that they're kind of juggling. We know that they kind of went downhill when they tried to release Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And ever since then, it seemed like they've been fumbling, jumbling, and bumbling all over the place, trying to keep up with two at a time. We know that they had Street Fighter 4, and then they tried to release Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Street Fighter Cross Tekken kind of went like, eh. And then next thing you know, we went Street Fighter 5, but they tried to have I'm sorry. Then they tried to release Marvel versus Capcom Infinite. And that kind of like fumbled at the same time. And then, they had to hurry up and release Street Fighter 5. And then that came out and people was kind of in with that. So it seems like during that phase of time from Street Fighter Cross Tekken all the way to MVCI Street Fighter 5 is like they've just been kind of like they just been kind of like messing it up. But we know that they could probably are going to try to go back to their roots. It's seeming like they're hinting at that. They got Street Fighter 6 out right now. Street Fighter 6 is doing fantastic. And then for them they've been teasing, as we know, we already said, with collection for MVC, and then you got them working toe and toe with SNK. So as far as which one though, I believe is coming out first. I mean, if we talking about they're trying to like hit the ground running and what's going to be popular, they can release a Marvel versus Capcom, have that come out, and then they're already working with Street Fighter characters and SNK characters and Street Fighter, so you could probably kind of hold that for a minute while you gauge like how good. Because if City of the Wolves comes out, and let's just say it like bomb, let's just say like the worst thing we think is going to happen, the crossplay comes out, it don't do good. Next thing you know, City of the Wolves comes out, it doesn't do good. Then it will probably just be in their best interest just to be like, so Marvel versus Capcom, yeah, we're gonna do that. But if City of the Wolves comes out and does great, that can hold them over for a minute and before they release like a CvS3. But if City of the Wolves comes out and does fantastic, then yeah, if the interest is really, really high, they love how Chun-Li and Ken has been implemented in City of the Wolves and stuff like that, then you can go ahead and just be like, hey, let's go ahead and capitalize on this and get CvS3 out. But it really all depends on how Capcom wants to go. It's a lot of factors. Something can change. I mean, we've seen like certain circumstances happen that people had a game in mind that they were going to release. Like we know Ride was thinking about doing an arena fighter called Pool Party, and then next thing you know, Multiverses came out and wet the bed, and they was just like, you know what, we ain't doing nothing. We ain't doing nothing. Just go ahead and put all the resources back in the 2SKO. So it really all depends on how things go. Which one do I think? Let's just say everything goes great. City of the Wolves comes out and everything does fantastic. People love Ken and Chun-Li in the game. I think CvS3 will go ahead and come out. It's already been a long wait for MVC. I don't think people will mind waiting a little bit longer, especially if they get another Capcom versus SNK. So I'm kind of leaning towards that too. If everything goes perfect, it's gonna be another CVS. And I don't think nobody's gonna be mad at that. So anybody else got anything there?
Man, what if there's this weird world we get like Capcom versus SNK versus Tekken versus Fighting Geek Slayer?
As long as Skull Man in it, we good.
Or at the very least,
What a
CVS
hater, man.
cross Tekken, cross Street Fighter, or just some. Because I just forgot about it. We had a SNK character in Tekken, and then we had one in Terry was in Fighting Geek Slayer.
Who?
Terry Bogard.
Oh, Blowhard. Oh, okay, I got you.
Wow.
Wow. The respect, man, for such a distinguished man. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
all right.
I
but
wouldn't
yeah,
go that far.
I
Well,
hope
no.
that I know, right? um, yeah, I honestly, it's been time. I hope that we get a either or. I mean, I'd be more hyped for Marvel, obviously, because I'm just that's what I like, that's what I prefer. But CvS3, that would be. It's been so long, and I do think it's well overdue. I don't like again. I don't know that they're trying to just flesh out like, okay, which mechanics do we want to use in both games, but I think there could be something cooking. Because I mean, people love that game. It's a heralded game in the fighting game community. CvS2, CvS1 was also pretty well received for the most part, but 2 just kind of came out and people just fell in love with it. So if you make a new one in today's modern technology and make it great, like it could be like the next big thing. It could be like a game that
Mhm.
probably outsells right now what we have with Street Fighter 6 and or Tekken 8. It probably outsell both of those if it was done well, and Marvel 4 would probably do the same thing. So.
Yeah.
Um, I just want more good fighting games, man. That's all I want. So
Oh yeah, I agree.
this is
You
the
know, that's
tuna we are making. Did anybody else think she was saying tuna?
ah. Yep, tuna we're making,
Who
or
didn't know it
tuna with
said true
bacon.
love? I thought everybody. I didn't know people got that confused. I thought it was obvious.
I, yeah, I always thought it was true love making. This is true love making. I don't know, man.
Yes.
I f- I feel like these games, like, in a way, kind of like key into like nostalgia as well, because you like we just did right there, right? Like you just know where that comes from, how other people feel about it, and that's like a trigger for everybody who's played that game just by like this is true love making, this is true love making. Like it's like you say, I'm gonna take you for a ride. Like everybody knows that, right? Like, and I feel like you kind of have, I mean, in a way, you kind of have a duty to do it properly, because if you come in and ruin people's nostalgia, they're going to be mad. I know I'm going to be a little salty if they were to come out. Like, let's say that City of the Wolves does pretty well, right? Let's say it does well. And then you come out with Capcom versus SNK3 and it's trash. Man, that would be very, very, very sad. It's, I mean, Capcom, Marvel's Capcom Infinite, I mean, wasn't as bad of a gut punch because Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had been so prominent, and it had only been like a few years before that. So it wasn't as bad. But to have to wait for a game for like for like a little over 20 years and have it come out and then have it not be good, that would be catastrophic. So I'm hoping that they do a good job.
Terry Bogard looked like his favorite comedian would be Larry the Cable Guy.
Dang.
Terry Bogard looked
Wow.
like the type of dude that you could always ask him what a Bud Light at, and he'd always have like a pack on him. But Terry Bogard looked like he always know what the cool frat party is gonna be at.